Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to break down one of the most important concepts in React, useState. Now, if you're just starting out with React, you might be wondering what exactly is state. State is data that changes over time. In simple terms, state is data that your component tracks and responds to. Think of it as the memory of your component. It remembers values between renders and updates the UI when those values change. Before React hooks came along, only class components could use state. But that changed with React version 16 when hooks like useState and useEffect were introduced, allowing you to use state inside functional components. Now, what exactly is useState? So let's deep dive into some code. Okay, so useState is a hook, a special function that lets you hook into React features from your functional components. First, you need to import useState, so you can use that, and you have to import it like this. And now you have to declare something. So you say state and then set state. And don't worry if you do not understand what I'm doing right now. I'll explain each and everything. Now, we have declared two things here, state and you set a state, and they're coming from useState itself. And this is the initial value for our variable state here. We are using array destructuring here. useState returns two values. First is the current state value, and then second is a function to update it. So you can name your variable anything. Let's say you name it counter, and then just following the convention, you can call it set counter. Okay, you can call it anything you want, by the way. Now, in this example, count, or you can say counter, is the value, and set counter is how we update it. The value starts at 0, and anytime we call set counter, React updates the UI with the new value. Every state change causes a re-render of the component. So remember, React components are like functions. They run again every time their state or props change. But thanks to useState, they can keep track of values in between renders. So now let's complete this example right here. Okay, we already have imported useState. We have already declared our variable. Now what you need to do is let's create a button. And what this button will do, on click, we'll call our function and we'll say +1. No, it's not count, it's counter. So we call our set counter every time this button is clicked, and let's give it a text, click me, and then let's display the value for this counter. Okay, so let's say you clicked and counter times. Okay, now I already have this running, so let's go to the browser, and if you click on this button, you can see it says you clicked me, and it updates the value as many times as I click on the button. Okay, so I have clicked on the button 13 times so far. So if you look at the code, we are initializing the counter at 0, and every time the button is clicked, we update it using the set counter function that we have. Okay, so it takes the previous value and increments it by 1. Let's look at other examples. So let's declare another variable and let's call it name. So here we talked about a number or an integer, you can say. Now we're going to use string. We put text, and then we'll say the value. It's going to be the name, and then on change, every time it changes, we're going to update our name and using what? The set name. So what we say, and we know that whenever you type, an event is fired. Okay, so you need to take care of that. You say e, take in the event, and then call the set name, and then you pass the value. How do you pass the value? Say e dot target dot value. Okay, event dot target dot value, and then you can just print the value if you want somewhere. So let's say just type in a message, name is like this. Okay, it's running. Let's type hello world. So name is hello world. So this is how you update a string. Now let's look at another example. Let's just copy it and let's call it is visible. And let's copy it again. Set is visible, and this time it's going to be a boolean and the initial value is going to be false. Now again, we'll create a button, and on click, what we'll do, we'll set is visible, but what we're going to do is we're going to revert the is visible value. So if it was false, now it will be true. If it was true, now it will be false. And based on this value, what we'll do is we'll say if my is visible is true, so we show hello world from use state. Okay, now if I click on toggle, you can see it shows hello world from use state. If I click on it again, it hides it. If you click on again, it shows the message. Click on it again, it hides the message. Now let's look at another example, and this time we're going to use array. And for arrays, let's say we call it items and call it set items. Let's create a new button here, and in this what we're going to do is we're going to call our set item and we'll call it toggle array. Okay, and so if I click on toggle array, you can see it keeps on adding the new item. Let's keep some space. Okay, let's set a break here, and let's add a break here as well. Yeah, let's just refresh it. Okay, so now we do not have anything in our items. Oh, we do have hello. Okay, so every time we click on set items, we are keeping the old items and we are adding a new item here. Okay, so if I click on toggle array, you can see it adds new items, and if I click on it again, again adds the new item as well as keeps the old items. So I keep on clicking it and it just keeps on adding new item to my array. Now let's look at the final example for the tutorial, and in this we're going to use object. So let's call it form and set form, use state, and then the object. Let's call the name Jane Doe, email, or let's keep it empty for the starters. And then let's just copy this same example below. You need to get rid of this and form, and let's say you only want to update the name, so you pass the name here. So you say John Doe, toggle the, let's say toggle set form. I need to change this as well. You can't just print the entire form like that. So let's just refresh it, and if you click on toggle set form, you say it sets the value to John Doe. It doesn't matter if you click on it n number of times, because it will always set the value to John Doe. Okay, so this is how you can work with forms. So we covered the number, we covered the string, we covered the boolean, then array, and then the objects. Okay, so let's put everything together in a small project, and let's create a to-do app. Let me clean up everything that we have here. Don't need all this. We'll create a new one. So let's say let's create a to-do app. So we call it task and set task, and then we say use state, and it will be empty at first. So at the initial we do not have any task, right? And then we will have tasks and set tasks. So it will have all my tasks, and this is an individual task, and this will hold all our tasks. Okay, so now let's create a function which will, let's call it add task. Now if my task is, we'll check if it is empty. So only if it is not empty, we'll add it to our task. Okay, so we'll say set tasks, and then we'll say keep all my tasks, and then add this task. Okay, we're going to call this whenever we type our task, right? And then we'll set our task to empty. Now we already have this div here. Let's create a new one, and here we'll say to do list, and let's create a input field. It will be of type text, and the name is going to be call it anything that you want. Let's call it to do, and then the value is going to be our task. Okay, and on change, what we're going to do is we're going to call set task, and we'll pass the value. Okay, let's also add a placeholder. So enter a task. Now let's also add a button. So on click, what it will do is it will call my add task function, right? Add. So whenever we type in this input field, it will set this, we're calling set task. So what it will do is it will set the value for this task, and then whenever we add, whenever you click on this add button, it will call this add task and add this particular task to the list of tasks. Okay, and then after that we will render all our tasks. So it will say tasks dot map task, and what we need is we also need the index. Let's call it task comma index. You need to pass a key, otherwise you'll get an error, and then you'll display the task that you have. Okay, so let's just refresh it. We do not have any errors though, so this should work fine. Purchase a car. Yeah, okay, it is working. And to-do lists, it should be to-do list. Okay, you see it only updated this this heading, yeah, updated the heading and did not remove anything else. So that's the magic of React. Now purchase a smartphone, click on add, it adds the list. It adds the task to the list. Now in this example, we are managing both the current task and the list of tasks using useState hooks. Okay, so whenever we type in something, it updates the task here, and whenever we click on this button, it updates the list which contains all the tasks. So this is how you can use the useState. So that's everything that you need to know to get started with useState in React. It's simple, powerful, and essential. And if you found this useful, smash that like button, subscribe for more React content, and let me know in the comments what hook you want to learn next. Although the next video is going to be about useEffect. But if you have anything in mind, please drop in the comments. Okay, so let's see you guys in the next one.